All right, good morning again, everybody. Hopefully the stream will begin any moment. I see that it has begun. We are 4 minutes in front of our crude oil session. And I see John has come into the room. Please say hello. Let me know you can hear me and that we're good. As I learn this whole YouTube streaming thing, everything is always nuanced, and I just want to make sure that you're all in the room and can hear me with crude oil coming out in about 3 minutes. Hey, Brett, Giancarlo, great. You guys hear me? That's awesome. And, I keep being accused of becoming a YouTuber, and I would be remiss if I didn't remind everybody to please hit that like button again. Thank you, thank you. Some goodwill up front. Maybe we get a winning session in the backside. All right, so if you're new to this, the crude oil report comes out in about 2 minutes. And when it does, we will wait 2 minutes, and then we'll look for our first trade. The big chart on the right is Counterpunch, whether it be Counterpunch Trader or Counterpunch Express 2. Doesn't matter. The only thing about Counterpunch Express 2 is that you would have to make your adjustments around key levels. It won't print on your chart, so you just follow my lead. I'll show you or tell you what the setups are. On the left, you've got Spotlight, a 5-tick momentum bar in the upper left corner. That's a nice chart to trade. It wins a lot with this crude oil report. And then the one on the left, a bigger chart, the 8-tick momentum bar that we use for mini sessions, several in the day. Today's mini session is the crude oil report. The bottom left corner is target 1 is the primary trade plan objective. But on the upper left chart and on our Counterpunch chart on the right, target 2 is our primary objective. All right, so if you have any questions, please feel free to type them in and I will get to them as we go. And I see people joining in again. Thank you for the inconvenience of a second stream. I just think it's a good idea to separate the crude oil report from our typical day-to-day session for future viewers. I'm thinking of their benefit. Maybe I'm overthinking things. I tend to do that sometimes. Okay, so we have another 10 seconds, and we should see on the price charts the reaction to the news. There it is. Looks like it came out a few seconds early, unless my clock's a little off. But that was the reaction, and we are still in the midst of the reaction. I'm going to go ahead and mark the low end and mark some boundaries of our reaction. And now we're trading right in the middle of the initial reaction. It's a tight reaction too. Like, 34 cents or something like that. So possible long trade, but I don't like to take the first setup. It's larger than usual because the setup is based on the reaction and everything's a little bit out of whack. So we have about 50 seconds left. All right, so this is the trade that we'll be looking at if we can grab it. It's a long at 62.86. Let's see what happens in the next 20 seconds. It might not give us a chance, or it may print something new, but this trade here is the trade setup bar that we may be grabbing, but we're going to wait our 2 minutes, and we got another 7 seconds. And I would say you can go ahead and place that trade at 62.86 and grab it on a pullback. It's pushing up on the highs of the day, and perhaps we make new highs, or perhaps we can't get it, and we can't. Make sure you cancel that. That just got away from us. It went too fast, too far, too fast, right before our start time. So what would have been a nice trade is no longer a trade at all, and we shall wait now for the next setup. Too bad, because that would have been great. Would have loved to have a 5-second session. Well, didn't quite get to target 2, but you know what I mean. Would have been good to be trailing already on this. It wasn't to be. We shall remain disciplined traders and follow our trade plan. Well, it may take some time before we get another setup, so we'll just have to be patient. Just looking at the other chart, the 5-tick momentum bar, just a quick look here. And that one went too fast also. So we wait 2 minutes for a reason, and sometimes we wish we only waited 90 seconds. And that is truly what happened here. It is what it is. You see a short did set up. You want to adjust that between below the blue line, though, and that would keep you flat on the 5-tick momentum bar. It's really important to make those adjustments around our lines, little small adjustments. But if it comes back down, that trade never stopped out, and you could still grab it. That entry would be at, we'll call it 02. I don't think you need to go down to 99. That's too large of an adjustment. You also have a long trade that could trigger in too. But I'm not calling those trades on Spotlight. That's for our Spotlight power traders to self-manage. I'm focused on these trades here. And we now have a short. We're going to call that 03. We'll make 1 tick adjustment around the spike. A short at 63.03. Unfortunately, it's a small trade. We'll have to go to target 2, which is 62.89 as our, our money management will be, never mind. That trade just canceled. That's good because it was kind of a crappy trade, a little setup. There's a long now. Will the rally continue? Long at 26. 2 ticks above the high of the day and around the 25-cent level. So hopefully we don't get wiggled in. But that is the next trade, 26. And that's targeting 50. And the stop is at 04. So if the rally continues, maybe a little long in the tooth, but it's hard to say. That is the next setup, and the stop is at 04. It's trying to push through. You can see it testing. It's tempting to push that entry up 1 more tick to 27. Too late, and it would have hit 27 anyway. So we're in at 26. Now we need our follow through. This is our first trade of the morning on Counterpunch. So the price action pushed up to 28. There would have been no way to avoid this trade other than just not taking it, and that would have been a mistake too. This is the first trade of the session. Got long on the 5-tick momentum bar, still flat on the 8-tick momentum bar on the lower left here. And the failure to get higher, making a new high of the day, breaking through resistance, could set up a strong move in the opposite direction. And now we got this little short trade, which would be at 14. We're going to adjust that down. We have to respect a possible stop and reverse. And that's going to be at 14, everybody. If we hit 14, we're going to have to go short. Would not be pleasant, but it's a reality. And that's going to target the third target, 63.01. And there we are, unfortunately. 63.01 now is the target. And the stop is at 31. It's always the risk when you're dealing with highs of the day. And we got this crappy little small trade. It is what it is. Maybe we pick up a trailer if we do get a strong move in the opposite direction. The failure to follow through, breaking out to new highs here, could set up a strong move in the opposite direction, or maybe it's still consolidating. Let's just hope for the best here, but there's nothing we can do except follow our plan, which serves us well most of the time. It looks like testing these highs, moment of truth, I think. Yeah, I think we're doomed. Still breathing, but I think we're doomed. Got to see the sellers come in. I don't see it. All right, too bad. Now we got a long trade again at 33. This will be the final trade of the morning. 33, new trade. That was definitely not kind. After that strong reaction that we barely missed by a few seconds, then we get all this noisy, toppy price action. Still looks like it's trying to top right here. Maybe that long trade cancels. Maybe we get our strong move short after this fails. Let's see what happens. And yeah, so the long trade's canceled, and now we have a short trade, and that short trade is at 17. So that's the one, and we will do our best to grab it. And we are now short. And that one's targeting 62.99. Pretty ugly price action. There's not a lot you can do. The stop is at 36. And getting to money management, so move your stop now to break even. Stop should go to 16. And hopefully that survives. And we could stay short. And it did not. It stopped out at break even. So just a crappy session. Unfortunately, now the third trade breaking even. You can see the messiness of this chart here. It still looks like it's trying to top out. Maybe putting in a right shoulder. Let's see if this is going to now rally higher or what. Could be a left shoulder head and maybe a right shoulder forming. Maybe we'll take one more trade. You could see the expanding range, breaking resistance and support and moving back into the middle here. Real toppy looking type of price action, and just getting caught up in that. It's never pleasant. Had a lot of winning sessions, and we're kind of due for a garbage session, and maybe this is it. I see a lot of viewers joining us, and even though it's been rough so far, if you would kindly hit the thumbs up button. I know my timing's impeccable. Really would appreciate it. I feel like the town crier. I just got to put my cup out and pick up the coins as you guys walk by. Hit the like button, please. Quarter in the cup. All right. Maybe it pushes the new highs again. This is just really, really rough price action with erratic up and down. It still could be putting in a right shoulder here. It failed to make a new high. Thing is, if a pattern like this resolves, it could set up a strong trade. So we've had a partial losing trade, then a full losing trade, and then a break-even trade. But they were small, so the losses really aren't so bad, and a good strong winner could make up for everything. We just need another setup, and then for one side or the other to take charge, because what you've got here is a lot of balance between buyers and sellers, and that's why you see this crappy price action. And there is the short purple trade, short at 12, 63.12. I know I said the last trade was the last trade, but we're going to look at one more. 63.12 targeting 62.88, and the stop is at 33. It may cancel. Still trying to form that right shoulder on a real ugly looking possible head and shoulders pattern here up by the highs of the day. Still too early to tell. What we do know is that we have a short trade below the rising 50 moving average and a real toppy looking ugly pattern here. The money management served us well on that last white trade, even though the stop was up here. Moving our stop down and getting stopped out. Okay, so we're short. Let's see if the right shoulder is indeed a right shoulder. So money management on this one is 15 ticks from the entry. We got to get to 62.97, and then we'll move our stop to break even. Let's go ahead and mark that. Little capitulation here. Looks like the sellers are starting to take command. Let's see if they've squeezed out the buying power, or if the buyers are going to try to mount a comeback. Having another short setup's a good sign. When you get multiple shorts in the same direction, it usually indicates exhausted buyers. Look at your exhaustion dots up on top and where they're all situated. And you could see after that highest level, it hasn't managed to make any higher levels. The exhaustion levels have all been lower. So we are one tick away from being able to at least get to break even. And that would be quite the practical joke if the buyers start screaming upwards now. But we got to stick with our trade. We need to get to 97. We got to 98, and the $63 level is a key level, and you could expect it to put up a little bit of a fight. So the pullback happened right at that key level, give or take a few pennies, and now we need to push lower here. And it looks Like we got a nice red bar printing, but anything could happen still. And you can see that the spotlight charts are both short. Looks like the 8-tick momentum bar handled that toppy price action pretty well if you look at the chart on the bottom left corner. And that $63 level has got some magnetism sticking the price to it, but there we go. All right, we can move our stop to break even now, and at least we get into this risk-free trade and heading in the right direction. Our target is at 88, and I think we just hit 88. We did. We just hit 88, and that is our target objective. So if you're in a second position, you're going for target 3 or you're trailing. Look at how we're right back in the middle of our reaction from the initial reaction, right in the dead center of it. That's where our target 2 happened to be. What a coincidence. Trailers should be at 63.01. 63.01, move your trailing stop. And it looks like you're in trouble here, and you are. All right, you're out at 63.01. That's the end. So that was a nice trade to take, and it was good to stay with the session. That will be the final trade. We almost mounted a comeback. Some of you are down a few ticks. I know I'm down a few ticks, not much. Still negative, but not by much. That purple trade definitely helped. The white trade almost helped. Notice how toppy, I mean, that we saw the head and shoulders coming, right? And the idea of breaking to a new high without follow through actually was dead on right, but the first attempt didn't work as it broke out here on the left shoulder because it still had to put in one more try to get higher, which failed, and that's what set up a strong move down, but not until the buyers had to come up and retest again, which set up the right shoulder. Although this second white trade would have been great because it would have kept you in all the way, it was more profitable, as it turned out, stopping out with one tick and then taking the purple trade instead because that was a nicer, larger trade. And look how nice that target 2 was. Nearly perfect before a V-shape reversal, as it is now outside of its initial report range. And it's funny, you can't write these stories any better, but I've been marking the range of the initial reaction for so long, and it gives us a little bit of insight, right? So we had the reaction come right in here. I put the horizontal lines to mark the range of the initial reaction. And I'm mistaken. I thought that it actually came down into that range. It didn't. I guess I had I had another line here. So I'm wrong. I thought it would have been an interesting story that the target 2 was in the middle of the initial range, but it wasn't. That was my mistake. It was still above. So we're actually still way above the initial range. And it wasn't that strong of a move down. It looks like these highs might get tested again. Let's see if it puts in a lower high and then heads lower. It's very erratic price action this morning. But that's a wrap, guys. That's all we got. It was definitely more challenging than the last several sessions in a row have been great. This one's a little bit more of a challenge. We're going to end this session with a tiny loss, staging a comeback, though, for the most part, which is always good. And how you guys did on Spotlight. All right, Anthony's positive for the day. All right. Yeah, somehow, I mean, you know, sometimes you get positive slippage. I don't know. Maybe you did something a little different. And I'm reading your comments now. Armando, thanks. If you guys don't mind giving me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. Really helps. Anybody have any questions before we tune off? On the 5-tick momentum bar, just a quick look here. I mean, this one definitely was problematic. You had an adjusted short that you don't take. You have a long trade that probably wiggled you short, so you end up with the 2 losses like we did in Counterpunch, but then you have this third one. Yeah, pretty tough, because you basically get a partial loss, a full loss, another partial loss, a break-even trade, and then a big winner. So maybe you staged a bit of a comeback of your own, but you could see, expanding range is never going to be friendly. And what I mean by that is if you draw lines across some support and resistance levels here, like so, you can see that it breaks out, then moves up and breaks out of the upper end, then moves down and breaks out again, and moves up and breaks out again. Just really difficult. You could see the pattern here. Always ugly, and it's always going to produce losers, even though it did have one trade that wasn't a loser, but it's always a rough price action scenario to live through. And it usually resolves with a big move, this time down. So you have to be aware of that too. The more of these fake breakouts you get, eventually one of them is going to not be fake. And the slower chart actually filtered all that garbage out, and you end up with one trade. I don't know. It looks like you had time to trade it. I don't know if you did take this trade. Let me know. But it got to target 2, and that counts. 12 ticks. It was one and done. The next trade also got to target 1, 18 ticks. Target 2 on the first trade because target 1's too small. You need at least 10 ticks or greater. That one was only 7 ticks. So target 2 becomes your target 1 in this case, and it stabbed down to it perfectly. And the 8-tick momentum bar, one and done. You just can't know when you get a crazy, erratic price action situation like this. One chart might behave better than another and perform better than another on this one-off single session. Ultimately, if you're doing your foundational work, you're testing whatever chart you're committing to, and you're trading it the same way each and every time, every week, because you would have proven to yourself the odds will lift your account higher, even if a session loses and another chart wins. It's just a session, and one session does not make a sample that you can lean on. We know that if you can win 75% of your sessions or more, let's just say 75%, well, that means you're going to lose 25% of them. But you're still going to go 3 steps forward, 1 step back. That's a winning trading business. So you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater if you end up with a losing session just because a different chart won. That's a huge mistake. Stay with your winning plan. You know what a bigger mistake is? Not proving it to yourself in the first place and going through the motions of testing with all the tools I provide you and the instruction and everything. If you don't do that, that's your number one mistake. Your odds of success go way down. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this session. I'll give you one last gasping appeal. I'll put my cup out so you can drop a quarter in it by hitting the like button, please. Everyone have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next session. Don't forget that John will be in tomorrow. John is doing the trade room tomorrow. He will be in at 9:30, maybe a few minutes early. He likes to show Ninja Trader charts, so this is your chance to ask him questions, learn everything you wanted to ever know about Ninja Trader. John's a master, and he knows my strategies. Some would say better than I know them. So engage with John, pick his brain. Wish you all good luck, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a wonderful rest of your week. I'll be back on Monday. Bye, everybody.